Lately I've been doing a lot of teaching. And teaching is great because it forces you to analyze your own playing and figuring out what you're doing. And I'm starting to have an idea of what I'm doing, so I'm going to show it to you today, or try to. One of the things I discovered is that I do a lot of licks beginning with an upstroke. An up, which happens on the downbeat of the accent of the song, and which is sort of unusual. Most people, when they're playing when they have a song going like this, they tend to go down, down, down. I certainly do that for rhythms, but for fast playing, I do a lot of ups. I'll go like, and that accented note is an up. And I want to start there. I like, when I show anything, I try to start really simple, because simple, if it's simple, it's easy, and then you're more likely to be able to play it, and hopefully to be able to play it fast, because in this case, I'm going to show you lots of fast licks. So this one has 3 notes, A, and then you have a pull off. Well, actually, you don't. You pick the next note with a downstroke, so it's up, down, and then a pull off. So it's 2 pick notes followed by a pull off. I think even people like Jimi Hendrix would use this kind of phrase. I don't know what technique he used. Maybe he used his teeth, but you know, if you're
Your alternate picking, you just like to start with an up.
But I also like to throw in hammer-ons and pull-offs. Yeah. If I pick everything, it tends to be kind of, I mean, I do that sometimes, but the most bang for your buck licks that I have are a combination of picking and hammer-ons and pull-offs. Okay. And this is how to get into it. And this is how to get into doing the upstroke on the downbeat. In this case, the tempo and feel I'm thinking is kind of a shuffle there. Almost like a blues, and you could go 2, 3, 4. Trying to find a good note to end with. You know, look around for good notes you can bend. Wherever they are, try to find those, because you have to find an escape from your lick eventually. The next thing, the reason I showed you this is I want to show you, I want to add 1 note at a time. Okay. I'm going to add a D note. So the first 3 notes are exactly the same technique, up, down, pull off, and then the D is played with a downstroke. Now, adding 1 note on seems like a simple enough thing, and it is. But the really magical thing about this, or the thing that will expand your technique so much, is you're now playing a lick on 3 strings. And if you look, when you play it over and over again, when you go from the G string back to the E, you have to skip. You have to skip over the B, like that. So focus in on my right hand there. That little move right there, it doesn't seem so glamorous now, but it's going to pay off in the future, which is coming soon. So there it is. How many notes? 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, over and over again. You can hear the downbeat happening on with that upstroke. It's the downbeat. So that's a lick. Now I'm going to add 1 more note. I'm going to add the F. We're starting to sound very either fit in D minor kind of thing, or it could fit in A minor as well. But right now D minor is kind of sounding nice. Now this is starting to turn into a genuine shred lick, because those 5 notes are going by really quick. And the picking technique is really very similar to the easy 3-note one. You're doing the same thing, just an up, a down, this time 2 pull-offs, and then that final down that we did before. So I'm going to do something here. I'm going to play it without the left hand. I'm just going to do only the picking, which would be like... So if you can do that, which again, that doesn't sound, I think most guitar players will hear that and go, that's not, that can't be hard. Da, 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 da. But the trick is to get that downbeat, or that, yeah, downbeat with the upstroke. And also to start controlling the tone of the notes. because you're doing a lot of pull-offs, it gives you time to, it gives you the luxury of time to start moving around different parts of the string to try to get the coolest tone. So you can start getting pick harmonics. And again, looking for places to end it is really important. For picking harmonics, initially I came upon them by accident, just by like, if I picked harder, it sounded a certain way. So as you play it, I might search and find that one, for example. There's that downstroke. And you can just move it up and down the string until you find the harmonic by ear. And there it is. There's a whole mathematical system as to why that works, you know, dividing the string, but the best way to do it is just look until you find it. Of course, the thumb is touching the string, but I never thought that in my brain. My brain thought, pick harder. And as you pick harder, the thumb goes towards the string. So what the brain thinks and what the body does often, or I don't know often, but sometimes are two different things, and they just magically work together. So in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, just dig in. And by digging in, the thumb gets closer. So there's the lick, 5 notes. And now, the big stretch moment comes. Let's go to the key of A minor and pick out some well-chosen notes with exactly the same architecture as the first lick. By architecture, I mean how many notes per string. In the first lick I showed you, we have 1 note per string, then 3 notes, and then 1. 1, 3, 1. Here we have exactly the same thing. 1 note, E, 3 notes, C, A, and G on that G string. Picked with a down and done with 2 pull-offs, exactly the same as we did with the last lick. And then we've got a downstroke on that C there, so it's 1, 3, 1. So that lick to me feels exactly like this one. And it phrases the same. You can hear, if you keep a tempo going, it's going to match the tempo. Let's see what the tempo is. It's easy enough on paper, since we've done only descending, to add the ascending part. For example, if we go back to our simple lick, let's just go back up and run it up and down. And of course, I should explain the details because we are adding some more notes, so I should tell you how I'm picking them. This much is the same. Then, let's see, another upstroke, 2 hammer-ons, and then back to our original upstroke. So it's really up, down, down, up, down, down, up. And then if we do the big stretch version, same exact picking. So it'd be up, down, down, up. And that's that's the lick that everybody thinks is sweep picking. I get so many emails, dude, I love your sweep picking. It's like, I never sweep pick. It's always this lick that fools people because it sounds like an arpeggio. It has the big wide intervals because of the string skipping, because of the wider stretch. If you start adding those, you know, those tapping things in. Another way to get wide interval stretches, not necessarily by stretching your hands, but by choosing wider intervals. And I'm going to play the example first, so hopefully you'll like it enough to keep watching and learn this lick. Here's the lick. In E minor, every guitar player's favorite key, including mine. And it's E minor triads. And I never knew what a triad was before I went to school. I never even knew what an arpeggio was. I had to look it up in the dictionary, and it said the notes of a chord played separately. I thought maybe this is the notes of a chord played separately. It is kind of an arpeggio. But at that time, Yngwie Malmsteen had just debuted with an incredible album, doing all this, a lot of sweep picking kind of thing. So I tried to learn that and learned it enough to be able to do that one time, but that's kind of all I can do with sweep picking. And sweep picking tends to be really good for taking, in that case, A minor triads up and down really fast. And I'm scared to go down, so I only went up. So it's sort of, but as I began to listen to how people who aren't guitar players use arpeggios in music, if you listen to piano players and how they use arpeggios, violinists or saxophonists, they don't always go straight up and down. They'll split it up to make a more interesting musical phrase. So I actually got out some paper and a pencil and some what do you call it, like neck fingerboard diagram paper, and I wrote out the notes of an E minor triad, E, G, B, and I thought, I'm going to skip the middle note. I'm going to go directly from the E to the B, which is really easy to play. It's basically a rock and roll power chord. And then I'm going to start on the next higher triad note, which would be G, and I'm going to skip the one that would come next, which would be B, and go right to the E. And I did that all the way up, so you come up with these little chord shapes. And when I say you come up with those little chord shapes, there's more than one way to do them. That's sort of the art of it, is figuring out, okay, I have these notes, how am I gonna make it work with guitar? So that was sort of the fun part, is like, I could do that there, or you could do it here. There's so many different ways to get the same notes on guitar. But I'll show you what I came up with, and hopefully people out there in guitar land will be able to use it as well. So the first one is very easy, which is encouraging. Looks like a bar chord, showed to you already. The next one, I do skip a string, but I'm using the same picking for all of them. It's always down, up, down, up, down, up. The next one is B and G, again down, up. This one's almost a power chord. Then we're back to another power chord, so that's nice. So these aren't difficult to play. It's more brain work. It's more like, it really helps to write it down and sort of stare at the neck diagram paper for a while. Or just go between two of the shapes when you practice it. Then maybe add the next one. And maybe add the next one. Or just do a couple of the middle ones together. Get used to starting anywhere in the pattern. The next one is, I figured it out here. What is that, a G and an E? And the next one is a B and a G, a little bit of a stretch. You could do it here, I suppose, but I liked it because as soon as you do that, the next one is right there, and that's sort of a friendly little move there. Now, having done that and really had it be useful and sounding good, I started to search for other things besides triads that I might use. For example, triads are very classical sounding. And I love classical music, and it works great in that. But if you're playing a blues song, it's going to sound a little out of place or a little square. So I thought, what if I took what I consider to be some of the cooler notes in a blues scale? So I took every note in a blues scale except the fourth. The fourth, nothing against the fourth, but it's kind of the least interesting note. So I took the root, minor third, flat five, flat or regular fifth, and the seventh, and did that same technique of skipping the middle note, and came up with this. And it's almost the classical way of phrasing a blues scale. And again, the intervals are stretched out, not from your fingers, but to your ear. And really, the ear is more important than anything. Who cares what your fingers are doing as long as it sounds cool? I'll give you one more quick example, which is the notes that I consider to be the coolest in Dorian, which would be the root, minor third, major sixth, and minor seventh. To me, those are the notes that really give Dorian its character. And you don't need the fourth so much. When you hear those, you know it's Dorian. So I came up with this shape. And that was a little bit of a challenge sometimes, but I love it so much. And I came up with one up here that I'll show you. That's such a useful phrase. When I'm doing the G3 jam with Joe and John, we're doing like the Purple Haze jam or something. And I don't have to play it fast. I can just go. It's just the killing this big skipping phrase. And of course, that's half of it is finding the notes that I like. The other half is finding a fingering that works. If the fingering doesn't work, you can't play it right, and it's not going to have the feel you want. So this to me, this is a really useful fingering, and I'll show it to you slowly. This power chord there. Those are both on the same string, but it requires a little bit of coordination with your fingers to get that to work. And the last one, and it bends so nicely up to there. That one I'm still working on. It's not as easy to play, but it has potential.